listening to the Sticks in the Six podcast. Here are your co-hosts, Andrew Forbes, Peter Barricini, and Alex Hopton.
Good morning, Toronto, and we've got episode 183 of Sticks in the Six here with Peter and myself, Andrew, and as always, we're brought to you by the fine folks at the Hockey Podcast Network, as well as DraftKings, No Name Hockey, Gametime, and most recently, Skylight Frames. Looking for the perfect gift idea this holiday season? Why not stop over at Skylight Frames? You can connect with loved ones. There's no better way to put a smile on your loved one's face than to share a special photo. Whether it's a glimpse of the kids being silly, a magical moment from a vacation, or a sentimental memory from years past, Skylight Frame brings your favorite memories to life right in your home. Skylight Plus is there for the tech-savvy folks as well. For those who love a little extra, Skylights Plus software offers advanced features that enhance the experience. One standout feature is Doodles, where you can draw a picture on your app and it appears directly on your loved one's Skylight frame. Perfect for adding a personal touch or a bit of fun. Another great feature is greeting cards, where you can choose from hundreds of designs and send an interactive card that appears on the frame, creating special moments for birthdays, holidays, or just because. Millions of families have fallen in love with their Skylight frames. With close to 2 million frames sold across 34 countries and over 675 million photos and videos shared, Skylight Frame is a tried and true way to stay connected with family and friends. This holiday season, give the gift that keeps on giving memories. Whether it's for grandparents who adore seeing their grandkids' latest antics, or a friend who loves capturing every moment, the Skylight Frame is the perfect gift to bring joy and connection into your home. There's effortless setup and instant sharing with no app or subscription required, and a quick 1-minute setup. Skylight is designed to be easy for all ages. Simply plug in the frame and you're ready to start sharing memories. Their interactive and engaging 10-inch color touchscreen allows for easy interaction, letting you pinch, crop, or zoom photos directly on the frame, creating a personalized experience. You can invite family and friends to join in the fun. Photos can be shared easily via the free Skylight mobile app or email, with no account or subscription required, making it simple for everyone to contribute to the frame. It's better than social media. Skylight Frame is a great private way to share photos without posting them to the world or having to print hard copies. Over 1 million happy customers, thousands of 5-star reviews, and available in over 30 countries. It's recommended by the Today Show, Forbes, New York Magazine, and more. Photos are displayed in HD resolution, and you can choose from 5 different frame styles. Set it up in portrait or landscape mode. For a limited time, get 20% off your purchase of Skylight Frame when you go to ca.skylightframe.com/hockey. That's right, to get 20% off Skylight Frame, go to ca.skylightframe.com/hockey. That's ca.skylightframe.com/hockey. Well, Peter, it's not a ton to talk about this week. A lot of positives. A few things that obviously the Leafs need to work on, but it seems as though there's a lot of positivity coming to the Leafs in terms of, they're getting healthy, they're getting wins. Anthony Stolarz, as you can see in the title of this show, the Anthony Stolarz Show, it's definitely, things are trending in the right direction for this team. Right now, they have a game in hand on the division-leading Florida Panthers, and they're just 2 points back of the division lead as well, so that's also a positive. We'll get into that in a little bit with the home ice advantage, but before we get into all the things Leafs, Peter, how you doing this week, buddy?
Yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of positives. Looking forward to this team right now. A lot of news coming out, about everybody getting healthy. So, McMahon is skating, Kampf is skating. It looks like Jake McCabe is back in his usual spot with Chris Tanev to form that, formidable shutdown duo. Yeah, so a lot of good news so far, but yeah, overall for me, I'm doing good. We were talking off the show, it's the holiday season right now, so there are a lot of parties, a lot of fun going on right now. As you know, I'm gonna be you know, going to be taking a good week off, heading MTL to see the fam. So you know what, I'm already. I want to say like I'm not fully checked out yet, but I'm kind of checked out. I'm just like in holiday mode right now. I'm pretty sure I think I speak for everybody out there that we just want the holiday season to be coming right now. Get those get that nice long break in. World Junior Championships are coming up too, so always a fun time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it's the greatest time of year, especially when you're talking about, at least as a Canadian, we grew up watching it at Christmas time, the World
Mhm.
Junior Championship. The U.S. is going to be putting out a great team this year. Canada obviously has got some highly touted talent as well. But as we've seen in most recent years, it's becoming a more competitive tournament all around. So
Yeah.
that's good to see. You're seeing Czechia kind of make noise. You're seeing Slovakia make noise. You're seeing obviously the Scandinavian countries in Sweden and Finland obviously making noise as well. So there's a lot of good coming from even the Swiss. The Swiss have made a lot of noise recently as well. So it's good to see that growth worldwide when it comes to international hockey. It always makes the tournament that much better, even if Canada doesn't finish with a medal. It can be disappointing, but it's good to see that the growth of the game is getting there as well. Quick note, as we in I guess league wide, the Oilers have picked up Alec Regula off of waivers from, I believe it was the Blackhawks. Um, I only mentioned that Alec Regula, former London Knight, but also I like to keep track of the Edmonton Oilers because we've always had that little bit of Twitter beef with Oilers fans and Sens fans where they're better than the Leafs, and right now it's interesting to see what direction the Oilers are going in terms of all the pickups they've been doing. What they lost in the offseason with Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg and their success they've had in St. Louis so far this season as well. So there's a lot to talk about in that kind of echelon of Oilers news as well. So I always like to keep a little update on that. But of course, we're here to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and what they've done over the past week. And going through that, over the last week, we've got a win 4-1 against Chicago, 3-2 against the Preds, two losses back to back Friday, Saturday against Washington, tough team, and their former GM in Kyle Dubas against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then brought it back with a big 2-1 victory against the New Jersey Devils, the very, very, very good New Jersey Devils, and their number one power play unit. And the Leafs did take a number of penalties against them. They were able to steal one in OT, in large part to Anthony Stolarz. It's the Anthony Stolarz show. Let's get right into Anthony Stolarz. What a game for
Oof.
Stoley the goalie against the New Jersey Devils on Tuesday night. 39 saves, gave up one goal. The Leafs look horrendous the entire game. Horrendous. I believe it was 17 shots total, one in the first period. That's the fewest by any NHL team in any opening frame this season, and somehow they were able to squeak it out. And I don't know if you were watching the game, but that shorty that Holmberg was able to get, that came on the back of 3 or 4 big saves on the penalty kill by Anthony Stolarz. It went back the other way, and it just happened to squirt out to Holmberg after a hard-nosed play by Connor Dewar, and all of a sudden it's a tie game. They go to overtime, and none other than Austin Matthews is able to win it in overtime. Peter, what did you take away from that game? What did you take away from that performance by Anthony Stolarz?
Oh man. Okay. I don't want to say anything about the full game itself because of the fact that that game was not a winnable game. There was no way that they should have got 2 points. Absolutely not. I mean, the fact that Stolarz stood on his head and gave his team that fighting chance, it was basically him. He was the catalyst on both goals, if you think about it. I mean, when you look at the type of like degree of saves that he made, the only one that went by him was that Andre Palat goal. Again, it was basically a culmination of the Maple Leafs mistakes piling up with all the soft passes, the one-touch passes to like the open ice. Nobody's there. That basically caught up him, bit them, which basically led to the goal. That was a fantastic shot. Stolarz was already down. Palat got it up. 1-0. You can't say anything about that other than the fact that the team in front of him had poor puck management. But throughout the rest of the game, he stood tall. He gave them that chance. And as you mentioned, where he made those like 3-4, 10 bell saves that eventually the puck squeaked out the blue line, and it was a battle for the puck. And Connor Dewars battling for that on the breakaway. Holmberg trails, and I can't remember where I saw this, but I think it was about like a 4% chance of that Holmberg shot going in. Mm-hmm. I mean, I really don't know what Jacob Markstrom was thinking on that play. I don't know why he wasn't fully set up. It kind of seemed like he wasn't. And you know what? I'm going to go back to a couple of live streams that I've done with, Bossman Kyle over here at the Hockey Podcast Network, where, he said that, Jacob Markstrom is a hell of a goalie, but there are going to be that times where he allows that goal. It's going to be like, what the hell was that? That was basically one of those what the hell goals in a key moment where your team is basically dominating the other one. You're holding by a thread, and you still can't buy one past a really, really hot goaltender right now. So you saw the emotion on Holmberg's face. You saw the celly from Stoli after he made those saves that led to the goal, where I'm not sure if he got an assist on that or not. I'm pretty sure he should have, based on the amount of saves that he did. But that's not going to be counted on the stat sheet. You saw the emotion on his face right there, and you saw the save that he made. Believe it was on Jack Hughes in overtime. Then that puck gets, the rebound goes far out, and it's a battle for a puck between Matthews and Pesce. I think that maybe if Matthews didn't score that, I'm pretty sure that probably could have been a penalty shot, because he did get hooked in the hands quite a bit. And you saw the emotion on Matthews' face too after that. Like, that was just one of those gutted efforts. That was one of those, basically, the Maple Leafs goalied the opposition for once. Too many times the Maple Leafs have had those games where they absolutely were dominant against the opposing team, couldn't quite find the back of the net. They did everything right, but couldn't get the W. This was one of those games where basically they did everything wrong, had a better third period. I think that's when they kind of like got everything in gear. Still not the best effort overall, but it led to the W, and that's all that matters at this point. The Maple Leafs have had very few of these games where, it was like a bad 50, 60-minute effort. There are times where they had a good 40 minutes, kind of lost their footing a little bit at certain points. That happens with a lot of teams. This time, this is probably one of those games, or this is probably the third or fourth game in the last stretch or so where maybe the effort wasn't great, but they found a way to gut it out and get the W. So I think that's a positive. I know you can't do that consistently. I think they know they can't do that consistently. But I mean, that win basically was Anthony Stolarz 1, New Jersey Devils 0. I mean, that's basically it. No other way to look around it. Yeah, Matthews got the game winner. Yeah, Holmberg tied it up. But that game doesn't happen without Anthony Stolarz.
Yeah, I keep thinking back to the opening night game where Montembeault just goalied the Leafs. And
one of those goalie games, yeah.
How many times have we complained about the Leafs not having that goaltender that can steal them a game? Well, I mean, that Tuesday night was a perfect example of exactly that. A goaltender who's willing to lay everything on the line, and his movements were perfect. His poise was perfect. He was able to locate the puck and see it through traffic, and everything played out well. And Stolarz did exactly what was needed of him to keep them. He gave up one goal, and that was it. And it's just, I mean, like you said, that Holmberg goal, I don't know. It looked like Markstrom didn't even see it. Like, he didn't even move. Mm-hmm. He didn't.
He wasn't ready for the shot.
Yeah, he wasn't ready for the shot. But, it went in, sent them to overtime. They got the point, and they were able to get the second one with yet another overtime goal from Austin Matthews. And it's worth noting, too, with that overtime goal, he now sits only one behind Matt Sundin for most overtime game-winning goals in Leafs franchise history. And this guy's only, 8 or 9 years into his career.
Yeah.
That's pretty outstanding. We got another 4 years of this kid. So
Talk about clutch.
Talk about clutch. Also worth noting too, since he's come back from injury here, he's in 6 games. He has 4 goals and 4 assists for 8 points. So whatever was nagging this guy before he went to Munich or Germany, wherever the hell he went, he's back. He's feeling good. He's feeling healthy, and it's starting to show on the score sheet. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go out on a limb here and say that he's going to make a huge comeback in the goal scoring department and end up winning the Rocket Richard, but I mean, he's going to certainly put up a fight in terms of getting back in that top 10 when it comes to goal scoring this year. This guy's elite. He's absolutely elite, and what he's been able to do to help this team get over the hump at times has been amazing. But the conversation still goes back to Anthony Stolarz. I mean, 974 save percentage in that game against New Jersey. He's got, I believe, the best expected goals against of any goaltender this season. He's right up there on save percentage. He's right up there on goals against. I know you've got Connor Hellebuck. You've got Philip Gustafsson in Minnesota, who are right there as well. I believe Philip Gustafsson might be the only one above Stolarz in terms of save percentage. I think he's at 930, and I believe Stolarz at 928. But you have to have this guy in the Vezina conversation right now. What he's done for this organization in the starts that he's got, and worth noting, David Alter also pointed out, friend of the show, David Alter, also pointed out that Stolarz will be starting yet again tonight. So the confidence that Craig Berube has in this guy, the Stanley Cup pedigree that this guy has coming off the win that he had with the Florida Panthers as well. It's done wonders for this organization. Matthews even came out after the game in New Jersey and said, you know, this team, these 2 goalies, the way they play, they're mentally strong, which is something that the Leafs haven't seen in a few years with Samsonov and Campbell at the helm. And they're physically strong, they're physically capable, and they're mentally strong. So they're able to get the job done. They're able to play the position. They're also very big goaltenders. So that's important for this organization. And for the first time in a very long time, you have to sit back and say, I have confidence in this duo.
Yeah, the duo, I mean, it's self-explanatory. I mean, I can't remember one, and I came out with the Maple Leafs, you know, benefiting from an early Christmas, you know, gift kind of piece, and it's the dynamic duo in goal between Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz. I mean, that's absolutely important. If in that game against New Jersey, you put in any goaltender of the past. I mean, like Peter Mrazek, Jack Campbell, let's even throw Matt Murray in there. I think you throw any of those 3 goalies in there, I think it's going to be where the goals are going to be mounting up like 3, 4, 5, 5-1. Let's say if we count that shorthanded goal, let's say if it does happen. But that's an automatic loss right there if any of those other goalies probably are in it. I mean, you look at the fact that Stolarz does have the best save percentage in the league right now, better than Gustafsson, Hellebuck, but not just them, Jake Ottinger, Vasilevsky. This is a guy that's been a backup his whole entire career and is starting to get more of a heavy workload, more of those important games, more of those important starts. And he seems like he's up for the task. I don't think I've ever seen a goalie that's capable of having the journey that he has and attributing it to or carrying it over to this season. And I think that, like, in the past, he's even talked about how he watched Bobrovsky during last year's Cup run and how he handled himself and how he dealt with everything game to game. And I think Stolarz is carrying over what he learned from that and attributing it or adding it to his game right now. And let's not forget the fact that in the 16 games played or games started, he has 13 quality starts. Mm-hmm. That's a percentage of 813 or 81.3% of quality starts. When you have a goalie, exactly. Yep. When you have a goalie that could come in and get you those starts and you feel confident enough at the start of the game that you're going to come out with a W, there's going to be a good result. I mean, I can't remember any time where the Maple Leafs have had, and let's not forget about Joseph Woll and all this too, because, absolutely, you know, he's come in at certain points and he's battling it hard, and they're going with that 1-1A situation where, yeah, Stolarz may get a stretch of 2 games, so will Joseph Wall. Like, you're riding 2 goalies that are absolutely hot in the crease right now, and then no matter who you put in, Craig Berube is going to be like, you know what? It's basically going to be a coin flip at this point, whether it's Stolarz or Wall going in. You're almost guaranteed, not necessarily a victory, but your chances of winning are that much greater. And that to me is always important right now. And just going back to the Austin Matthews thing, I remember when it was like 2 years ago where he came off like that. He had a bit of a like wrist surgery, he came back and he got 60 goals that first year. I remember when he was completely out of that, Rocket Richard race, and he just went on a torrid pace. It wouldn't surprise me right now if he not necessarily matches that, but he gets on another hot start where he could be tops in goals in the league right now, because you already have Leon Draisaitl at 20. And I think at that point, Draisaitl and Ovechkin, I think we're dueling it out for tops at that moment. Trying to see right now where Austin Matthews is at. I believe he's at 9. Trying to scroll through. Yeah, he's at 9. He's out of a total overall, he's 89th. Then again, he missed a couple of weeks. Healthy Austin Matthews, you're guaranteed at least a 50-goal season right now. So hopefully that goal and this stretch of production is one where he gets on a hot streak. But yeah, I mean, the Matthews goal doesn't happen without Stolarz. Holmberg goal doesn't happen without Stolarz. I mean, I'm just looking at the live timer right now. It's been at least 10, 11 minutes of us talking about Anthony Stolarz and how great he has been in that game and even throughout the whole entire season too. So yeah, Stoli show just tearing it up right now.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, don't forget Wall in this conversation either. Stolarz third in goals against average at 213. Gustafsson right now is in first with 2.08, but Wall's right there in fourth with 220.
Yeah.
So I mean, all things considered, and you're right. Stolarz is right up there with save percentage, 928. He's number 1. When you look at shots against, Stolarz is 23rd in the league. So the defense is doing their job as well, and I think that's a conversation that needs to be had. And we'll get right into it with the injuries. You mentioned.
I was about to say, before we go into the injuries, just a quick question for you, because I kind of had this discussion where I thought leaving Logan Thompson off Canada's roster was kind of a bit of, what are the worst moves for Canada to make for the Four Nations face-off? I really thought he should have been one of the third goalies. I know Team USA is stacked in net. Obviously, Ottinger and Hellebuyck are your 1-2, or those are going to be your 1-2 options. Do you think Anthony Stolarz should have been one of the options considered over Jeremy Swayman for Team USA?
I mean, if you're talking recency bias, absolutely. I think
this season alone.
Yeah, this season alone, absolutely. I think that's the hardest part right now. With making those selections, it's a one-time tournament. It's not like something that you're looking forward to. It's not the Olympics in Italy that you're now talking about. It's a tournament in season, and I think right now Stolarz is having one of the best seasons of anybody. To not have him there, if you look at the top 5 goaltenders in the league right now, based on stats alone, not overall like what they've done over the past like 4 or 5 seasons, but if you look at what they've done this season, stats alone, Stolarz is a top 5 goalie this season. You've got Hellebuyck in there. Gustafsson's playing for Sweden. The fact that you don't have Stolarz and you have Jeremy Swayman, who's, in all honesty, not having a great year. This guy's coming from a team that where let's be honest.
Progression is big with the Boston Bruins right now.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Like, Swayman might not even see the ice based on the two goaltenders in front of him.
Fair enough.
Right? So, is it just because of the name? Possibly. I mean, that very well could be the reason. And if that's the reason, well, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, Stolarz you mentioned it. Stolarz has been a backup for the majority of his career, aside from his run in Anaheim where Gibson was out. So, I don't know. That's a very good question. I would have put him on, but I mean, there's bias there as well. So I think it's tough to
just a little bit of bias.
Yeah, I mean, numbers wise, he should be considered. And I'd love to know. I'd love to be a fly on the wall there and listen to the conversation and see if he was even a name brought up. I think that's the bigger question was his name
One of those
even
calls, basically.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, it's an interesting question to ask. I do think it's worth noting too that Stolarz tonight will be going up against a former team, so that'll add a little bit more maybe money on the board, right? So see if he can get the W again and continue his torrid pace. But yeah, let's get into the defense because they just announced a couple of moves after practice. Nikita Grabenkin was recalled from the Marlies. Marshall Riffai was sent down to the Marlies, obviously making room on the back end for the likely return of Jake McCabe, possibly tonight. So with that in mind, I mean, I saw a tweet. I don't know who it was from. It might have been you, actually, that was saying, I didn't realize how important Jake McCabe was to this defense core. Was that you?
I don't know.
Maybe not. Maybe it was somebody else. Anyways, somebody was noticing how important Jake McCabe is to this defense core. And I think it goes without saying. I mean, the guy blocks shots. The guy is a hard-nosed body on the back end. His place alongside Tanev has been well documented. He's played great hockey. And this defense core, like we said, Stolarz has faced the 23rd most shots of any goaltender so far this season. Part of that is because of the shots that have been blocked on the back end by this. I mean, this guy's a warrior. There's a reason he's out of the lineup right now, and it's because he's an absolute warrior who took a puck off the back of the head.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I mean, the call with Grabenkin is likely just it's just a paperwork call. I'm sure he's not going to make
one of those placeholder moves.
Placeholder move. That said, with Jake McCabe possibly making his return back to the lineup tonight, what are your thoughts on where this team is headed?
I will say this. I'm kind of a little bit disappointed that Grabenkin's getting sent down, but we kind of figured that when everyone's going to be healthy, players are going to be sent down. I loved him during his call-up. I think he was fantastic, but digress from that. I think with the defense right now, with McCabe coming back, obviously that's a huge addition. And you notice when he was out of the lineup, I know it was only for 5 games, but you can notice where you kind of miss his presence. He was the one that was laying the boom. Like you mentioned, he's got the physicality. He kind of like the Chris Tanev mentality, blocking shots, getting into lanes. Not as high as Chris Tanev in blocking shots, but he's among like top 50 in the league, which obviously that's still impressive nonetheless. I do think that inserting him back in with Tanev, I think that was one of your literally the best pairing that the Maple Leafs have had all season. I mean, I was writing about the pairing themselves, and then I went and circled back on my holiday piece or whatever, Christmas gifts, whatever you want to call it. Despite a pairing that only got 20 offensive zone starts, 63 neutral zone, and 60 defensive starts. So this is a very neutral zone, defense zone start heavy pairing. They are one of the top productive or offensive productive pairings in the NHL right now. Among 200 minutes or among pairings with 200 minutes played, McCabe and Tanev are third in goals for percentage. They are, I believe, they're 18th in expected goals for percentage. And in terms of high danger chances for, they are, or I believe it was scoring chances for. Trying to find it right there. The filter is not being kind to me right now. 52.38%. So that's still good for 23rd overall. In terms of like actual like scoring chances against, they are second behind only Matt Roy and Rasmus Sandin. And in terms of high danger chances against, they are first with 26 against. So they are one of the best pairings in terms of limiting the shots against, the chances against, in the middle of the ice. They basically have that opportunity to be that relied on pairing and get those heavy minutes, get the responsibilities, and kind of like Berube with Stolarz and Wall, they can legit just basically He could go to them at any moment, anytime. Game saving situation where you need to protect the lead, you can rely on them. But let's not forget about the fact that they got an underlying offensive game. I mean, it may not show in the stat sheet, but they are the drivers from the back end, technically better than Riley and Ekman-Larsson at this point. When they're on the ice, they're getting those chances, or they're attributing to those chances. So that is one of the most important pairings right now. It's going to go a long way for them during the season and even into that postseason. So I think with McCabe coming back, it's basically another trade deadline acquisition. Obviously, with the health wise, obviously him coming back in, that's a good addition no matter what. So, yeah, I just can't say any great things about that pairing. And the fact that you noticed when McCabe was out that this team was lacking his presence, him coming back in now is basically going to elevate them up again.
Well, 5 minutes ago from Luke Fox over at Sportsnet. Big boost for the Leafs getting Jake McCabe back. He will be back tonight. Missed 5 games after taking puck to the back of the head. So,
yeah,
there it is. Jake McCabe will be back in the lineup against the Anaheim Ducks tonight. That's great news for the Toronto Maple Leafs as they continue to push towards an Atlantic Division win. And the reason we're so focused on getting that win in the Atlantic Division right now is because there is the home ice advantage. It's never seemed like a big thing to the Leafs. I mean, you always talk about the quiet crowd, the lower bowl. They're always down in the section. They come out 10 minutes into the period and all this blah blah blah. What do they call it? The ghosts of anyways, doesn't matter. The platinum ghosts or whatever. What do they call them? Regardless, the Leafs this season are 12-4 at home. Home ice advantage is incredibly important to this team, and Scotiabank Arena has played well for the Leafs so far this season. So this focus on home ice advantage and winning the division has been a big thing for the Leafs this year. Sorry, I'm just getting we're getting a few comments here on looks like both Twitch and YouTube. Anyways, we'll jump over there in a sec to Patrick. Thank you, Patrick, for tuning in. We really appreciate it. But yeah, there's a conversation to be had about how the Leafs have played at home this season, and I think that's important as well. So the Leafs at Scotiabank, this is something that the Leafs need to drive home, is to try and get that home ice advantage. Winning the division would be huge, because then going through the first at least couple rounds, you're likely going to be at Scotiabank Arena more than you are on the road. What are your thoughts on the Leafs trying to get that division title? I know we're only about 25 games in, but the conversation has to be had in trying to build that lead early on in the season.
Yeah, like you mentioned, they're only 2 points behind Florida for the division lead in the Atlantic. And let's face it, whoever's at the top of that division, that's going to be the team to beat. Because, I mean, just like previous years, Florida was at the top. Every team had to go by Florida. Even Toronto, when they lost in the semifinals in 5 games. Unfortunate result, but Florida is basically that team right now. Even if you secure second spot, you get home ice advantage for the first round, but the second one, you're going to have to go through Florida. You don't want to do that because of how great they played the last year and a half, or basically they're the reigning Stanley Cup champs. So obviously they're the team to beat right now in the Atlantic and overall in the NHL. So yeah, every point matters for this team, especially on home ice. And the fact that they feed off that energy in the crowd right now, I know that at some points it still looks like it's kind of dead, but there are moments where everything amps up. If there's a big hit, the energy is being felt. If there's a big time play, it's being felt throughout the arena. So I think that if they are able to get a home ice, it's kind of a no-brainer, really. Like, you want that home ice advantage. You want to feed off that energy in the crowd come springtime, because it's going to be popping off nonstop. Like we saw what happened with Tampa Bay too. Like, the energy was at another level in the postseason. So every point, especially within your division, matters. So I believe they got a game coming up against Detroit. those are going to be an important 2 points. Your next few matchups against Florida and even Tampa Bay, you want to create that separation, are going to be very, very crucial. Because if there is a team right now in the past 3-4 years that had a chance to win the division, aside from that COVID bubble, which they did, I mean, everyone can say that was meaningless, but they were the best Canadian team out of the 7 right there. This is probably the best team to compete for a division title or the top spot in the Atlantic. And it's showing right now they're playing that hard north-south game. They're playing a very defensively responsible game. They're playing playoff hockey right now in December. Like, we're not even past Christmas yet, not even into January, and they're playing that playoff style hockey. So that to me is huge right now, and it's just going to go a long way for them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Before we get to some comments here from Patrick and Chug, we're gonna do just a quick ad read from the folks over at Gametime. Are you looking to get in the arena for, let's say, hockey, let's say basketball? Maybe you're looking at a comedy show this holiday season for your favorite person. Well, check out Gametime for any of your ticket needs. Gametime has Gametime Picks, which filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste the time searching through thousands of tickets. I've recently checked out Gametime as well, looking for some tickets in Detroit, maybe Buffalo. Get them for the folks, and they definitely help you out with Gametime Picks. It's a super deal, and it's so good. It's so easy to use. They find the greatest deals on the web, and they make sure that you get it for the best deal possible. Gametime Picks makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. They have a toggling feature where you have all-in pricing. There's no surprise fees at checkout like we've seen on other apps. And you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you even buy the seats. So you know what you're seeing before you even get into the stadium. They've got the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. So, first off, good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Chug Jug Addict over on Twitch. We appreciate you guys tuning in this morning. We don't normally do a lot of morning shows, so to get the viewership here, see you guys come on and check in with us. That's awesome. First off with Patrick, brings up a good point here. Leafs need a guy like Frank Vetrano, not a center, but he's depth scoring who can play top six. Honestly, like I don't think the center depth is the issue. So a guy like Frank Vetrano could actually fit into the fold a little bit. You did mention in your next comment there too is his current contract, 1 year at 3.75. So it's a decent contract. I think you could get somebody to eat a little bit of that money for cheap, which is a great move by the Leafs as well. So long as you're not giving up too much of your future in getting them to retain some of that salary. And yes, you mentioned to ship out Robertson or Kampf to Anaheim. I think it's a foregone conclusion at this point that Robertson goes. I think things just have not worked out for him. In terms of Kampf, I think the only reason you move him right now is because of the dollar amount in terms of what you signed him to for his last contract. But the Leafs are certainly going to have to make moves, and I think Vetrano's a guy that definitely needs to be in the conversation. He's coming off a big year last year. Anaheim struggled this season, so this would be the perfect opportunity for Anaheim to send a guy out like Vetrano, get some pieces back in return. Maybe Robertson comes in, maybe he fits in with the guys like Cutter Gauthier and Mason McTavish and Pavel Mintyukov and Olin Zellweger, and you get that young kind of depth going. He can be a piece that adds to that core. So certainly an ideal move there as well. So yeah, I love the idea of Frank for Toronto. Peter, what are your thoughts on that move by Patrick?
I mean, this is perfect because it does kind of with one of our topics, depth scoring, and I think we could even kind of tie it in right now. I mean, you look at the fact that the top five or five of the top Maple Leafs top six, so Nylander, Tavares, Marner, Nyes, Matthews, account for close to 60 goals for the Maple Leafs this season. You could add Bobby McMann in there with his 6 because he started to pick up before he got injured. But after that, I mean, depth scoring is absolutely hurting the Maple Leafs right now. Like there's a massive gap, and it's not even close. Steven Lorentz, I know he's a fourth line player. 3 goals. Max Pacioretty only had 2, but then again, he was injured as well. Pontus Holmberg got his first with a goalie in the net. I know he's got 2, but Robertson 2, Minton, I'm not going to include because he was just called up and he was outperforming some of these players as well. So Ryan Reeves, 0 goals. Max Domi, 0 goals. And he's supposed to be a guy in your top 6. So you need a guy that could jumpstart the offense. And I think someone like a Frank Vatrano definitely could do that. It's funny because the thing is when it comes to the deadline, you could probably rest assured that Anaheim is going to ask for a first round pick, just like any team does, who's still in rebuilding mode, who wants to accrue all those picks. And I don't think the Maple Leafs quite have the assets to get Vatrano, but if you could try to work your way around, maybe give a decent prospect back in return or a couple of decent prospects as a result, it's possible. I just think right now the Maple Leafs could be limited, and I think they're going to maybe attribute more the bottom 6 as opposed to someone within the mid 6, so second line, third line player. I would definitely love Frank Vatrano. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's just, do the Maple Leafs have the assets to do so? I think, players like Yanni Gordon, Brandon Tanev that have that Craig Berube element, it could pitch in every now and then offensively. Maybe you could probably get as a cheaper price. Same with a player like Brock Nelson. I know that teams would love to have his scoring touch and net front presence in. I don't think the Maple Leafs quite have that. I know that they had one scout at an Islanders Kraken game, maybe to look at both Gord, Tanev, and even Nelson. I don't know. It's just that some of these players for depth scoring, that especially Brock Nelson, who's averaging 30 goals or could at least hit the 30 goal mark, price is going to be high unless you could try and, I know Lou Lamoriello hasn't won a few trades in the past. Maybe you could try and win this one and lowball him quite a bit. I don't know if that's possible or not, but I do agree that someone like Vatrano can come in and make a big difference. And even if you were to insert him on that wing with either, I assume maybe it would probably be a better fit with Tavares and Nylander and or Marner, depending on who's going to be playing with Matthews. I mean, his speed, his shot, I think would just be a big difference maker and a big boost to the top 6 or even the middle 6.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Patrick also mentioned that Yarncroke can also go. Yarncroke's kind of a toss-up because he could come back and he could add to the offense. That said, if he does come back, the Leafs obviously have to make some moves to get him in there as well. So that's an interesting one as well, Patrick. Another name that you're bringing up is Dylan Cousins for a goalie would be good too. So there has been some speculation that the Leafs might move a goaltender. Obviously, in the minors, they've got Hildeby, they've got Akhtiamov, and they also have Matt Murray. Matt Murray right now, I believe, is injured. I think he just went off again. In terms of I don't see the Leafs moving Akhtiamov. Like the numbers that he's putting up at the AHL level are incredible.
8-1 right now.
Yeah,
I'd hang on to him. Even Hildeby, I'd try to hang on to him as much as possible.
Right, and Hildeby's a beast as well. I think he's gonna. So it'll be interesting. There has been some speculation. I know there's been some talk. I know there's been some issues with Cousins in Buffalo, not in terms of his relationship with the team, but there's been some speculation in terms of what they could do to get him going. And one of the suggestions was move him. I don't see them moving a young guy in Dylan Cousins, especially what he did at the World Juniors just a couple years ago. So
even the World Championships recently too.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I don't know if that'll ever come to fruition, but definitely a good talking point. Something that as a Leaf fan, I would love to get Dylan Cousins. I just don't see it happening. thank you again for tuning in, Patrick, and continue to comment. We'll have lots
Appreciate
to talk
it.
about. You have some great insights coming through. Chug Jug Addict over on Twitch. Andrew is so wrong on this. I don't know what topic you're talking about.
Yeah, a little.
And rarely am I wrong. No, I'm just joking. But feel free to give us a little bit more insight as to what you meant there, and we can certainly discuss it. But anyways, again, thank you guys for tuning in. Really, enjoy having the interactions with our listeners as well. Yeah. So, anyways, we got to talk about the Leafs and how they've been outplayed over the last few games. Obviously, we talked about New Jersey. Prior to that, you had the game against Pittsburgh and Kyle Dubas. The Leafs lost 5-2. Obviously, a couple empty netters. They were outshot 29-27. They had 5 penalties, so they were on the PK 5 times, which certainly didn't help. They just didn't look good. They gave the 2 empty netters were obviously shorthanded goals as well, so that kind of skews your numbers a little bit. And then of course the game against the again another former coach in Carberry, and they lost 3-1. They were outshot 26-21, and just didn't look good. And I think that's the point that you're trying to make in that as well, Peter, is that they just didn't look good. Obviously, the New Jersey game, they looked horrendous. What are your takeaways about the Leafs play of late?
Literal roller coaster, because it all started with the Chicago game, and they started off great 40 minutes. They kind of lost their way towards the end, and it kind of dipped down. It carried over into the Nashville game where they didn't have the best start, but it picked right back up when Marner and Matthews were reunited, and they were the ones that led the charge back against the Nashville Predators. Then it kind of dipped back down against Washington, where it was a really good competitive game for the most part. I will say that both teams were going back and forth. I think that there were a lot of missed calls on both sides in that game where everybody had a right to be kind of mad. Especially Craig Berube. I would not mind if he took the fine on that, but he's been very well composed talking about the officiating. So big ups to him, because I don't think I would have held back. I think I would not have held back in that situation if I were him, but totally fine. Then it went back down against Pittsburgh. Again, they were the dominant team at 5-on-5. Special teams basically hurt them in that aspect because of the fact that they were on the penalty kill so much. Bad opportunities or bad goals against. I think there was that one bounce that went to Michael Bunting where it went off someone's skate, and it was just a perfect opportunity for him to just pot it into the empty net. And again, 2 empty net goals. Again, that kind of does skew the numbers a bit. New Jersey, we already talked about it off the top of the show, but hopefully that the turnaround in the third period and into overtime could basically push them back up or get them up on that curve again, because definitely a roller coaster type of week and a half or so. So I really don't know what to think. Then again, this is probably like teams go through stretches of ups and downs. This was probably one of them, but I think right now with everyone getting healthy, everyone getting back on track, it's definitely going to play into their hands, especially Jake McCabe coming back as well. That's definitely going to be huge. So not too concerned about their overall play. Yeah, I probably would have liked to have seen them play a little bit better against Washington, find that extra edge against Pittsburgh, where maybe the power play was clicking a little bit better, where your penalty kill wasn't. And the New Jersey game, again, I'm going to be repeating myself right now if I talked about it as well. But yeah, I think that hopefully right now it starts off with the game against Anaheim, who's struggling themselves right now. It's definitely showing, but let's not forget about the fact that they're going up against Lucas Dostal tonight, the no-name goalie that apparently caught the Toronto Sun's eye, which I still can't believe that was a headline, because I followed him for
fan.
Big
Toronto Sun fan.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I've been following Dostal for years. The fact that even in like going up against like teams that have him in fantasy, I'm dreading it, because he gets the saves. He may not get the wins, but he is keeping Anaheim in them in certain games right now. And that is absolutely huge for him, huge for the team as well, where maybe they won't get the results, but they have something to build off of. And Dostal is not going to be an easy opponent to go against, so you can't take him lightly. You don't want to fall into that trap game as well. So you got Anaheim, you got Buffalo twice, you got Dallas Stars as well, which would be a great matchup as well. So you got a little bit of games in there where you can't take anybody lightly and you got to be at your best. So hopefully this week is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, like you said, the Leafs have played playoff hockey over the last little stretch, showing damn well that they can play. They can play defensively. Mitch Marner right now leads all NHL forwards with 22 takeaways. So, take that for what you will, and kind of build off that. Good defense leads to lots of offense. I think we saw that. We saw that against New Jersey, and and
it makes the goalie's job a little bit more easy as well.
Yeah, fortunately, they've had some great defensive performances, and they've had some great goaltending performances over the last little while to carry them. Hopefully, the offense kind of gets back on track in the next little bit here. Before we close it out here, Peter, just a quick word from the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The 2024-25 season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in New York. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in Connecticut. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights are reserved. Now, you mentioned off the top of the show, Peter, the World Juniors are set to kick off later this month. Lots of fun hockey to watch. These kids are flying when they're on the ice. They're representing their countries. There's nothing better than a little Christmas time World Junior Hockey Tournament. Easton Cowan, a London Knight on a 56-game point streak, regular season point streak, was hit hard in the last game that he played with the London Knights. He's still at Canada's camp. He is skating now as of yesterday, but he's being held out of the camp for the time being. This is basically saying that he's a guarantee. He's a lock to make the roster. They're just being cautious with what he is suffering from. It looks to be a concussion, unfortunately. I don't want to speculate, but it does look to be, let's say, chest up, upper body.
Yeah.
It was a hard hit.
He was shaken. That's definitely for sure.
Yeah. So, outside of Easton Cowan and not taking part, likely a lock for the roster, what are you looking forward to from this Team Canada camp, my friend?
Well, now that Beckett Seneca is in there, I think that this team just got a hell of a lot more dangerous up front, even though they already were. I mean, you had Braden Yeager, you had Cowan, you had Matthew Wood, a lot of those players that were returning. You got the upside of a player like Jet Lachenko. Bradley Neto, I think he probably should have been on the camp roster last year. You got a lot of lethal talent up front. You got a lot of solid depth, two-way players and mobility on the back end. Question mark is still going to be in goal. I mean, who's going to take over? Is it going to be Carson Bjarnason? Is someone like Carter George going to take over because he looked absolutely flawless during that U18 championship, making 10 again highlight reel saves against players like James Higgins, who's going to be in this tournament as well. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think that this is definitely going to be one of those tournaments where it's going to be Canada USA in the final at some point. I feel like both teams are poised to try and make a deep run and win gold. I mean, U.S. is trying to repeat, Canada to win gold, and yeah, the whole Easton Cowan situation, I really felt it was just precautionary how he was attending camp. Obviously, they invited Seneca, so one player is probably not going to make it. That's for sure, because I think he's going to be one of those guys on the right side that's going to do some damage. And the fact that he's skating, Cowan, it's a good sign for him. Like you said, he's most likely a lock. I think we all felt that way as well because of his. He was on the team last year, looking to take a big step forward this time around, and even so, it kind of goes back to me with Alexis Lafreniere in 2019 during the camp where he was there, wasn't fully a participant, but most likely because, I mean, at that time he was a potential first overall pick. He was going to make the team regardless. Cowan, different situation, not a first overall pick, but still that same situation where you're just holding him out for precaution, but he's going to be playing in the tournament later on. So yeah.
Yeah, and worth noting, there's a number of London Knights that are there as well. Denver, Barkey.
All four basically potentially able to make the team.
Absolutely. Sam Dickinson, and then, of course, Oliver Bonk as well. So just another note on how the London Knights run their organization here in London, in the level of competitiveness that this team brings. Still number one in CHL rankings, worth noting as well. But I also want to note Peterborough Petes are up in the top 16 as well of OHL power rankings. Mm-hmm. Top 16. This is a team that started the year with like 0 wins, 18 losses, and 2 overtime losses. They went out and got Gavin Bryant, friend of the show, and they're now up to, I believe 5 wins. 5 wins. They have 16 points. And there's lots of hockey left to play. So these Peterborough Petes, they brought in some, they retooled, they brought in some culture, they brought in some leadership in Gavin Bryant. And I mean, it goes to show you what this guy means to these organizations. I can't believe that Niagara let him go, but yeah, shout out to Gavin Bryant and the Peterborough Petes, who are now 16th on the OHL power rankings. So I just want to give them a shout out as well. Outside of that, Peter, you got anything else before we close it out for today? Obviously, Leaf game day today. Anthony Stolarz against his former club, the Anaheim Ducks. Anything you got?
Nothing. Usually, I mean, I do have like a couple World Junior pieces in the works, but that's to be determined once rosters are finalized. But yeah, I mean, that's basically it for me at this point.
Beautiful. Look for a piece from me coming out at the Hockey Writers. Part of the Mulling the Maple Leafs column that I've kind of put together, and discussing the Ryan Reeves conversation, whether they need to keep him, whether they need to move on. Discussing the Ryan Reeves conversation, it's gonna be a great talking point probably for next episode. So, anyways, Peter, you enjoy the day. Anybody who tuned in today, we appreciate it. Thank you for your comments, Patrick. Chug Jug, if you tune in next week, let me know what I was wrong about. I'd love to know, and we can have that conversation. Outside of that, big shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network, who continues to support this podcast, the DraftKings Sportsbook, Gametime, No Name Hockey, Indie Alehouse. We're getting into that holiday season. The snow's flowing. The cold winds are out there. And the Leafs are playing against the Anaheim Ducks in a very, very winnable game tonight. So make sure you tune in to watch those Toronto Maple Leafs. Outside of that, it's been a hell of an episode. Episode 183 of the Sticks and the Six podcast. Until next week, folks, for Peter and myself, that's all we got. Go Leafs, go.